What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm bringing you a list of 5 tips and tricks that will help you immediately improve your gameplay in Apex Legends. As always, if you enjoyed this video or found it helpful in any way, let me know down below, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. But without further ado, I'm Brad from Last Call Gaming. Let's tap into it. Okay, let's be honest with ourselves for a second. Apex Legends is a hard game. There are so many moving parts and decisions that you have to make so quickly that any number of things can send you back to the lobby. And that's why today I'm bringing you 5 tips and tricks that will immediately help you improve. Now, are these gonna make you a pro? Absolutely not. But if you implement these things, I promise you, you will immediately start to see improvement. And so kicking us off at number 5, you need to loot faster. This is a problem that I see with a lot of players in my games and the ones that I spectate. Do not get caught up looking at every loot box, looking at every piece of loot on the ground to find that perfect thing. Generally speaking, time is one of the most valuable resources in Apex Legends. So much so that you want to spend as little of that time looting as possible. Looting quickly is a good practice throughout the game, but it's particularly important in the early game. Ideally, you want to have knowledge of where little pockets of loot are on the map, specifically within the drop points that you prefer, and then you should be aiming for those pockets every single time. And then the minute you hit the ground, you should be picking up everything and going, can I take the fight? Can I take the fight? Can I take the fight? And until that answer is yes, you need to be positioning yourself to find at bare minimum a weapon that you can use, and then get into the fight. It takes some getting used to, but you need to get comfortable with grabbing and going. And trust me, the gameplay is way more engaging when you're not playing Loot Simulator the entire time. Now, I'm not saying that when you actually have some downtime, you can take your time to loot. Absolutely. But there are so many more important things that you should be spending your time on in each game. Positioning yourself, rotating, thinking about the next ring, yelling at your teammates, etc. I'm guilty of it too, but I don't care how fast you think you're looting, you can always loot faster. Moving on to my number 4 tip, and this is a very, very simple, straightforward one. Mess around with the colorblind settings. Now you may be going, but Brad, I'm not colorblind, neither am I. But as it turns out, the minor adjustments that the colorblind settings make, specifically to the reticle of the weapons, has really helped me just see better and hit my shots. And I mean it seems very, very strange. But the difference in reticle color between red and yellow actually makes it easier for me to use the wingman. This may help you, this may not help you, but what I'm saying is you should go test it, because it could be something that's holding you back and you don't even know it. Pretty straightforward, go give it a look. Moving right along to number 3, another one that may seem pretty obvious, but you need to be taking more fights. Apex Legends is a battle royale. And while we all like the taste of victory, the road to get there is paved with a lot of trips back to the lobby. Take this tip to heart because you're going to die a lot, but putting yourself in high pressure situations in the game is the only way to improve really quickly, and I mean quickly. It sort of goes hand in hand with my looting faster tip and one of the tips I'm going to mention later on. But dropping hot and taking more fights speeds up your decision making and gets you more comfortable with the higher pressure situations that will translate to the rest of your gameplay. It will also get you used to using your surroundings more efficiently, and there's certainly very few ways to really check up on your gun skill better than real world application. It's something that feels very obvious, and it's something I can't recommend enough. I myself used to play way too cautiously, and now I can't stand to do that. And I really did see almost immediate improvement. Within a week, I was getting more and more confident with just taking 1v1s, taking 1v2s, etc. Fair warning, it makes the game harder, and you are going to die. A lot. So as you implement this, for your own sanity, make sure you're not obsessively looking at your stats, but give it a little bit of time and you will see improvement. And speaking of gun skill, that brings me to number 2. This tip is more of a what not to do, and it's also one of the tips on this list that I could see people having a major problem with. But I'm gonna say it. Don't waste your time learning exact recoil patterns or learning how to jitter aim. That's right, I said it. I made a very short video about this a long time ago, but generally speaking, your aim can improve with every single weapon in this game by making one small movement. And that is a very gentle right to left downward angle with whatever your input method of choice is. Is this perfect? Absolutely not. However, memorizing recoil patterns is really only effective if you're planning on standing still, something that you should be doing absolutely bare minimum of in Apex Legends. And if you're strafing, something that you should be doing, most of your recoil is negated most of the time. So basic aim techniques will generally cover you. Obviously, basic mechanical skills like tracking are going to be most important here. And I can make the argument that if there are a handful of weapons that you find yourself coming to more often than not, you can absolutely learn those recoil patterns because you use them so much. But it does not benefit you, and I would argue is a major waste of time to learn the specific recoil patterns of every single weapon in this game. It's honestly not worth it. And the same can be said for jitter aiming, which I consider to be a bit of a gimmick and relatively inefficient. Much like learning the recoil patterns, jitter aiming is entirely dependent on the idea that you're standing still. And if you're using a flat line, jitter aiming is only really useful past a certain range. And I would argue that past that range, you should be using a marksman weapon anyway, and frankly just not wasting the ammo. So it is my belief that rather than learning every single recoil pattern and learning how to jitter aim, you spend that time learning how to move more effectively, learning how to use cover more effectively, learning the maps, learning useful map rotations. Things like that can really apply to every single aspect of your gameplay. Work smarter, not harder. That's been my motto since day one with Apex. Like I said, I imagine there's gonna be a handful of people who are tilted by this tip, so, just keep it classy in the comments. We can have it out. I don't really care. But until then, I'm going to move on to my number 1 tip, and that is to experiment with your loadout as much as possible. This tip goes very hand in hand with taking more fights and looting very fast. And it's another problem that I see very, very frequently with the people that I watch and the people that I play with. A lot of times we as players have this ideal loadout in our brain that we want to pick up and we want to use in the game. And unfortunately, in a battle royale where the loot is randomized, we don't always get that option. And it's that viewpoint that tends to hold people back. They start to think, oh, I'm only good with this. Oh, I can only use this. And that's why I'm saying you need to experiment as much as possible to up your comfort level. You can use your faster looting to improve this skill. That is to say, pick up whatever you find and try to take your fight with whatever you find. Obviously, if there's something you're more comfortable with that you come across between grabbing that loot and finding your fight, pick it up. But a lot of times you don't have that option. Sometimes you're just gonna land on a P2020 and you're gonna have to squad wipe. It ain't easy, but it's doable, and you should get comfortable in situations like that. Experiment with your loadout as much as possible. Obviously, no matter what you do, you're always gonna have things that you're more comfortable with than others. But no matter what, you will improve the more you build the confidence to use whatever you find. And that's why I think that this tip is so important, because in Apex, confidence is everything. If you know that when you pick up a Mozambique, you can knock someone's block off, you're gonna do it more times than not. And sometimes you are just gonna have potato aim, but building your confidence with the entire arsenal of Apex Legends is gonna be crucial to your improvement. But I wanna know what you guys think. Are these tips helpful? Are there any tips that you would add to this that might help players as well? Let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, cheers, Legends.